Long ago, when the world was wild and untamed, humans didn't have cozy houses or fluffy beds like we do today. Their homes were made by nature, dark, cool caves, hidden under cliffs or tucked between tall rocks. When storms raged outside, caves kept them dry and safe from the rain and howling wind. At night, the sound of dripping water echoed through the walls while fires flickered and shadows danced. Families huddled close, feeling the warmth of fire and the safety of the stone walls around them. Caves were the first shelters humans ever used, and for thousands of years they called them home, but caves weren't always perfect. Some were too cold, too dark, or filled with bats and bears that didn't like visitors. So humans began to look for new ways to make their own homes, places they could build and shape with their hands. They started learning how to use what nature gave them: sticks, leaves, mud, bones, and stones. When they traveled, they carried this knowledge with them, building homes wherever they went. Some groups made small shelters by leaning big branches together and covering them with animal skins. Others used mammoth bones as frames and covered them with hides to block the cold wind. These early huts looked simple, but they were clever, strong, warm, and easy to fix. Inside, families sat around the fire, cooking, talking, and telling stories before sleep. Children played with little stones while parents worked on tools or clothes. The smell of smoke filled the air, mixing with the scent of earth and wood. Over time, humans realized they could build better if they worked together. One person gathered stones, another carried branches, and someone else tied everything with vines or grass. Building became teamwork. Everyone had a role, even kids who helped carry little sticks. They learned how to find flat ground so rainwater wouldn't flood their shelters. They noticed which direction the wind blew and built their entrances facing away from it. Their brains were becoming smarter with every home they built. These huts weren't just shelters, they were the first real homes, places of warmth, love, and family. Each hut told a story about the people who made it, about the land they lived on, and the life they shared. When tribes moved to new lands, they built again, better each time. They learned to use mud to fill the gaps between sticks, making walls that didn't let in cold air. Some even made raised sleeping spots from woven reeds to stay off the damp ground. The first homes were simple, but full of clever ideas born from daily experience. At night, the glowing firelight made every hut feel like a tiny world of its own. Outside, the wind howled, wolves howled back, and the stars shone like silent guards above. But inside, people laughed, shared food, and whispered to sleepy children. Every morning, smoke curled up from the roof as families began a new day. Mothers went to gather roots and berries while fathers repaired tools or prepared to hunt. Kids chased each other outside, their feet kicking up dust around the huts. Some kids helped patch walls with mud or collect sticks for new shelters. Through them, the knowledge of building was passed down generation after generation. Eventually, humans began to settle near rivers and lakes, where water and food were easy to find. They built huts close together, forming small villages for the first time. Now neighbors could help one another, sharing food, stories, and protection. Living together made life safer and friendlier. It also meant new ideas spread faster. If one family built a better roof, others copied it, improving their own homes too. Soon, huts started looking sturdier, with stronger walls and smarter designs. People began to decorate them, hanging bones, shells, or colorful stones near the entrance. Even then, humans wanted their homes to look special and beautiful. They weren't just surviving anymore, they were starting to create. Over time, people experimented with different building materials. In forested areas, they used wood and bark. In dry plains, they built with stones and clay. In icy lands, they made shelters from snow blocks, like early igloos. Humans adapted to every environment, learning to make homes fit the land. Wherever they lived, one thing stayed the same: home meant safety. The first homes were also where families gathered to teach, sing, and dream. Around fires, parents told stories about spirits, animals, and the stars. Children listened wide-eyed, feeling the warmth of the flames and the comfort of family. When storms came, thunder rolled outside, but inside, laughter and stories drowned out the fear. The walls might be thin, but the feeling of togetherness was strong. And so, with each home built, humans became more connected to the land, to each other, and to the idea of belonging. The simple act of building shelter helped shape who we are today. It taught cooperation, creativity, and love, lessons we still carry in our hearts. Imagine the excitement of the first people who made a hut and realized, we built this ourselves. It was a moment of pride and wonder that changed everything. From then on, humans didn't just live in nature, they learned to shape it. Home became a symbol of family, safety, and identity. It was no longer just a place to hide from rain, but a space to grow, share, and dream. And that's how the first homes turned into the first villages, and the first villages grew into towns. It all started with one spark of an idea. What if we could make our own place to live? That simple thought changed the story of humankind forever. As time passed, humans began to dream bigger. They were no longer content with small, simple huts made of sticks and mud. They started thinking, what if our homes could be stronger, warmer, and last longer? So they began to experiment with new designs, new materials, and new ideas. The world around them was full of inspiration. They looked at how birds built nests high in trees and how beavers made lodges that floated in the water. Nature itself became their greatest teacher. People learned how to weave reeds and grass into tight mats for walls and roofs. They discovered that mixing mud with straw made it dry harder and crack less. They noticed that round huts stayed warmer and could stand strong against the wind. Soon, across wide grasslands and deep forests, tiny villages began to appear. Each village was a cluster of round huts that looked like giant mushrooms rising from the earth. Smoke curled lazily into the sky from every roof, filling the air with the smell of cooked meat and wood fire. Children ran between the huts, laughing, carrying little bundles of sticks. Dogs barked, chickens clucked, and the sound of life filled every corner of the camp. In the evenings, the whole tribe gathered around one big fire at the center. They talked, sang, and shared food under the stars. The village became more than just a group of huts, it was a living, breathing community. Each family had its own space, yet everyone worked together to keep the village safe. When someone's roof broke, neighbors helped fix it. When someone caught a big animal, they shared the meat with everyone. Homes weren't just walls and roofs, they were symbols of care, teamwork, and friendship. Inside each hut, the flickering firelight painted golden shapes on the walls. You could see tools hanging neatly, baskets of dried berries, and animal skins stretched neatly on the floor. Mothers hummed lullabies as babies drifted to sleep. Fathers carved tools by the firelight, while children whispered and giggled under blankets of fur. Every night ended with stories about brave hunters, clever spirits, and faraway lands. Those stories, told inside humble huts, were the first bedtime tales in human history, but not all homes were the same. In cold, snowy regions, people used blocks of ice and snow to build round shelters that kept out freezing winds. Far to the south, people in deserts built homes from sun-baked mud bricks that stayed cool inside. And in the forests, wooden huts rose from the ground, held by tall posts to keep away snakes and floods. Everywhere on Earth, humans found a way to create a safe place to live. It didn't matter if it was made of stone, wood, or snow, home was where warmth and love lived. Over thousands of years, people grew better at building. They began making permanent villages near rivers, where water, fish, and fertile soil made life easier. Instead of moving from place to place, they stayed longer, planting seeds and tending to crops. With that, the first signs of settled life began to bloom. Huts turned into houses that could stand for many seasons. Walls became thicker, roofs stronger, and homes larger. Some even had separate areas for sleeping, cooking, and storing food, a brand new idea for humans. People started making clay pots to hold water and grain. They placed them carefully inside their homes, decorating them with patterns and lines. Even in ancient times, humans loved beauty. They painted their huts with earth colors, red, brown, yellow, and white. They decorated walls with handprints, symbols, or drawings of animals. It was their way of saying, "This is our place. This is our story." The first homes became more than just shelters. They became art. They reflected the hearts of the people who built them. And through this creativity, humans learned something important. Home is not just where you sleep, but where your spirit rests. The way people built their homes changed their lives completely. For the first time, they didn't have to fear every storm or wild animal. They could store food safely, raise their children, and dream about the future. Each generation learned new building tricks and passed them to the next. Some learned how to build fences to protect their homes. Others discovered that stacking stones in patterns made walls even stronger. Humans began to imagine even more. Could they build homes bigger than huts? Could they build for many families together? Those ideas would soon lead to the first towns and cities, but that's a story for another day. For now, imagine standing at the edge of an ancient village. The sun is setting, painting the huts gold. Smoke drifts lazily into the pink sky. You can hear laughter from children and the crackle of cooking fires. A mother calls her children inside as the air grows cool. The family gathers close in the warmth of their hut, sharing a meal and stories. Outside, night falls quietly and stars twinkle above the thatched roofs. Somewhere, a baby yawns and another story begins. It's a peaceful scene, one that feels strangely familiar, even today, because deep down, humans have always wanted the same thing: a place to belong, a place to stay warm, a place to call home. From dark caves to handmade huts, from cold stone walls to glowing fires, humans built not just shelters, but lives. And each new home, no matter how small, carried the dream of safety, family, and love. That dream has never gone away. Even now, when we turn on a light, close our doors, and curl up in bed, we're still part of the same story. The story that began with the first spark of fire and the first hut built from sticks and mud. A story about how humans learned not just to survive, but to live together. And as the stars watched from above, the first homes of humankind glowed gently in the night, just like the hearts of the people who built them.